Well, hey everybody, my name's Aaron. Welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be doing probably my last Atari 2600 video for a while. This time we're following up on something I mentioned in the 10 technical things you didn't know, which is that the Atari 2600 is actually capable of multiple channels of sound. So we'll talk about that and hook up a mod so that we can see just how these two channels were used and whether they were able to achieve stereo sound or maybe not. We'll find out in just a minute on the Retro Hack Shack. So this will probably be my last Atari 2600 or VCS episode for a while. I just wanted to follow up on all the loose ends from that 10 technical things you didn't know about the 2600 video. By the way, if you haven't yet, please click over and subscribe to my second channel. It's called Retro Hack Shack After Hours, and I do a lot of repair work and bring back a lot of stuff from e-waste to show on that channel, things that, you would be amazed what I find at e-waste. Lately, I've been working on a PC to test a bunch of floppies. My first effort did not go so well, and that's on Retro Hack Shack After Hours, and I'm working on a follow-up to that one where hopefully I am able to test multiple different formats of floppies and have a machine running in the background so that while I'm working on something, I can be sorting through all my floppies and figure out which ones are good and which ones are bad. At least that's the goal anyway. So go over and subscribe to Retro Hack Shack After Hours, and you can double your Retro Hack Shack pleasure, I guess, if we were in a chewing gum universe.
A double pleasure's waiting for you. A double pleasure from Double Mint Gum. A double great feeling, making you realize double is the one for you.
And so today we're going to be talking about stereo sound out of the Atari 2600. So as I mentioned in that video, the Atari 2600 had the capability of 2 sound channels, and the original Heavy Sixer like this one, when they were getting ready to introduce this, if you look at the molds inside, it actually has space for 2 separate speakers. Not only that, but if you look closely at the plastics in the early 2600s, you can see there are some gaps or what look like to be vents in the top panel here. And what those are is those are actually holes to let the sound out from those speakers if they had gone in that direction. Early games that could hook up to the TV, like Pong and several others, often had a speaker inside the box that was dedicated to sound. And so it makes sense coming from that as a background that the thought initially would have been to have discrete speakers in the unit as opposed to using the mono speaker in the television. As we'll see later on, games like Pong could have at least directed each player towards the sound source that was closest to them. So sounds coming from the right player in this case could have been coming out of the right speaker. Sounds coming from the left player could have been coming out or could have been geared towards the left speaker. So at some point, the developers were planning on having those speakers inside the case and then abandoned that and instead had the sound come out directly from the mono speaker in the television instead, and they sent that sound across the RF link to the television. And so when they designed the 2600, the TIA chip that controls the audio and the video coming out of the system actually has 2 sound channels. Now, what does that mean exactly? Does that give you stereo sound? Well, it could theoretically, but in this case, it's more like an electronic keyboard or piano where when you press down multiple keys, only 2 of them will actually sound at any given time. It's called polyphony. And a lot of keyboards, early keyboards may have had like 4-channel polyphony or 8-channel polyphony. In this case, think of it as having 2-channel polyphony, meaning that you can only get 2 sounds at the same time out of the system. So anytime you need sounds to overlap, let's say in Tank, for example, you needed that tank noise that was always playing in the background coming out all the time. And then you also needed to layer in another sound like the firing sound from the tank. If you want those to happen simultaneously so that they're both going on at the same time, you could use those 2 sound channels, put one sound in one channel, one sound in the other channel, and then ultimately they would be mixed together and they would be sent through the RF connection to the TV and come out the mono speaker in the TV. But otherwise you would have had to pause the tank engine sound, for example, for a brief moment while you played the sound of the gun firing and then pick up the tank sound again, and you'd have a gap there. But this way you were able to overlay both of those sounds on top of each other and play them at the same time. And if you were thinking that why didn't they just hook it up for stereo sound to the TV? Well, you have to remember that the Atari 2600 or VCS came out in 1977, and there were no stereo TVs or stereo broadcasts at that point. In fact, the first stereo broadcast happened in New York City. During an episode of The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson in 1984. And soon after that, it rolled out through the rest of the country, and you started seeing little disclaimers at the bottom of the TV that said, in stereo, where available, because not every station was equipped to broadcast in stereo at that point, and so it was a bit of a slow rollout. But eventually, we all got stereo broadcast, and they started making TVs with 2 speakers for stereo sound. So with all that background out of the way, let's go ahead and look at this mod and see how easy it is, or not, to install in the Atari 2600. If you want to see just how easy it is to order inexpensive PCBs, check out the sponsor of this episode, PCBWay. PCBWay offers inexpensive PCB manufacturing and a whole lot more. Need assembly services? No problem. They can do front side, back side, through-hole components, you name it. They also offer 3D printing, CNC milling, and more. So check out PCBWay for your next project, and I thank them for their support of the Retro Hack Shack. Now, just like last time, the first step is to remove all the screws from the back of the Atari 2600 and the screws from the metal plate that is on the back of the mainboard compartment where all the shielding is, and that will allow us to get access to the mainboard. If you remember in my last video where I installed the pause mod to the Atari 2600, I mentioned that I wanted to make this wire here removable in case I ever needed to get access to the mainboard again. Which I do in this case, so I'm glad I thought of that in advance. Once the mainboard is accessible, you need to look for the TIA chip, which in my case is the bottommost chip on the mainboard here. And we're looking for 2 pins in particular that we need to remove in order to disconnect them from the circuit where they're tied together currently and going out to the RF output. These are pins 12 and 13 right down here, and you can see I've already pulled them out on my board. I'm following the instructions on Victor Truchot's blog, and I will link this in the description below. The mod itself is very simple with only a few components. You will need 2 resistors, something between 1K and 10K should suffice. These are going to be attached to the TIA pins to pull them up to 5 volts. Also attached to those pins, you will need 2 capacitors, 1 on each, and these again should be fairly simple to source, anything in the 1 microfarad. I think I'm using 22 microfarad electrolytic capacitors here. The positive side of those capacitors is going to attach to the TIA pins, and the negative side is going to attach to the output for the audio signals. So here's the Frankenhack that I put together just to test this thing out. You can see the 2 resistors there, and the positive leads of the capacitors are going to be going to the pins of the TIA. The other side of those resistors are going to be attached to 5 volts somewhere on the board. And the negative side of those capacitors is hooked up to the audio signal. That black connection there is for ground, and that looks like it's connected there, but it's actually just floating in the air. Of course, you'll also need some way to connect your audio, so if you have some RCA jacks that you want to put on the side of the cabinet, in my case, I'm just going to be using a spare RCA cable that I already have stripped the ends off. I'm also going to be using these clips which easily attach to pins, especially these types of pins on ICs like this. That'll just make it easier for me to clip on and test and then remove them when I'm done. So that's the quick and dirty method I'm going to be using today, but if you wanted to make this more permanent, you could add a double pull, double throw switch or something like that and put that on the outside of the case as well, and you could wire it so that you could actually switch back and forth between the stereo mod being engaged or just a direct connection to those pins back to the motherboard. So to install my version, I just needed to find a source for ground and 5 volts, and I was able to do that right here on the board. There's ground on this pin, which is unpopulated, and there's 5 volts right next to it, so perfect place to be able to install this mod. Now that I know where everything's going, all that's left is to solder these 2 pins onto the board, and then connect the clips onto the pins on the TIA chip. By the way, for those games that do have a sense of directionality, you're going to want to attach pin 12 to the right speaker and pin 13 to the left speaker. So if your chip is oriented the way mine is, it's actually opposite of what you might think based on how it sits here. Again, if I was going to do this permanently, this isn't quite the way I would do it. I would probably put this on some perf board and put it someplace where it's not going to short anything out. But this will be fine for today's demonstration. Okay, so I've got some speakers connected. These are just the first ones I could find. They're pretty bulky and heavy, so they should actually have a good sound. However, it's important to note that these are amplified speakers. So if you were to just hook up a speaker directly, this is going to be a very low level output here coming directly out of the chip. So you do need some amplified speakers if you want to hear this yourself in real life here. I may have mentioned before, I'm going to be taking this mod out when I'm done. This is just for demonstration purposes, so I'm not going to close everything up right now. All right, so I think we're ready. Let's go ahead. I'm going to start with combat. So let's go ahead and see what this sounds like. Let's see. There we go. So at this point, I can hear the tank engines running through both speakers. But let's see what happens if I start moving one of the tanks. Oh. So I may have my sound hooked up backwards back in where I'm making the connection back there, because I'm hearing this tank come out of this speaker. Yeah, and when I fire it, I'm hearing it come out of that speaker. So let me just swap my connections around to make sure that that is correct there. Yeah, now I'm hearing this out of this speaker. So let me give you a closer listen to this. Turn this up just a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to fire the tank with the left player here. I'm going to fire the tank, and you can listen to that. So the sound effect's coming out of that speaker, and then if I go over to the other speaker, you can probably still hear it because it's coming from over here, but yeah, hopefully it wasn't as loud when I had the microphone held over there. Likewise, if I do this player, let's move him around a little bit. This is the right player. The sound is coming out of that speaker, but if I hold the mic next to the other speaker, you couldn't hear it until, interestingly enough, when the bullet hit the other tank, then I could hear the sound because it was that player's sound. It was the left player's sound came out of this speaker. Now you can see where this doesn't actually qualify for stereo sound in this regard. So the problem is that when you move the left player to the right-hand side of the screen, you're still going to hear the sound out of the left speaker, even though the player is now on the right side of the screen. In a true stereo setup, that sound would then shift. As the player moved across, it would become more and more noticeable that the sound was coming out of the right-hand side of the speaker as they moved to the right. But it's still pretty cool. Here's a direct audio capture, and if you have enough stereo separation in the device you're listening to, you should be able to see this. Notice that when the blue tank gets pushed over to the left-hand side of the screen, and then he gets hit again, the sound associated with his hit still comes out of the right speaker. Okay, let's try Enduro real quick and see what the sounds sound like there. Here we go. So this is a one-player game, but we should still get maybe some sound separation because anytime you want to have multiple sounds, the best way to do it with multiple sounds would be to use the different sound channels. So, oh, interesting. Oh, cool. So it doesn't really make any sense stereophonically, if that's the right word. But what's happening here is the engine noise and the crashes and when I bump into the side, that's all coming out of the left speaker here. And then every time a car passes, that noise is coming out of the right speaker. And I just thought I would go ahead and try asteroids as well, or someone has colored in these few letters. I just noticed this says ceroids. Some kid has colored in a few of the letters. That's pretty funny. Anyway, let's try asteroids and just see what this sounds like. Here we go. So far I've got the music coming out of the right speaker. Oh. Yeah, so the music is coming out of there and my gun firing is coming out of there, but my collision noise, or when my ship gets destroyed, is coming out of here. And also my acceleration noise of my thrusters. Yeah, that's interesting. Now, if you don't want to perform this mod yourself, but you'd still like to hear what your favorite game might sound like with using separate audio channels, you can do that using the Atari 2600 emulator Stella. If you're wondering where the name Stella comes from, you should definitely check out my 10 things you didn't know about the Atari VCS or 2600 video. But that being said, go ahead and download Stella. And once it's installed and running, you can click on Options and go to Video and Audio. Then click on the Audio tab and select the option that says Stereo for all ROMs. This will enable the same functionality as we just enabled physically on a real 2600, so you can see what these games will sound like with stereo separation or multi-polyphony separation of the sounds. As you might imagine, there are some interesting homebrew games for the Atari 2600, and some of them make really good use of these two sound channels. The first one is called Skeleton Plus by Eric Ball. In this game, you are roaming around a maze and you're trying to kill all the skeletons before they can kill you. There is an on-screen indicator of where the closest skeleton might be in relationship to where you are in the maze. However, if you have this mod enabled, you can actually hear whether that skeleton is on the left or on the right, and as you turn, the sound changes direction so that you have a audio indication of where the next skeleton is in addition to the visual indication. The last game I want to talk about, and probably the best example of true stereo with the Atari 2600, is a game called Medieval Mayhem by Daryl Spice Jr. This game is essentially a Warlords clone, but a much better one. The gameplay is much better. You can catch the balls and send them to the other castles. There's multiple balls in play. There's dragons that fly across the screen, but most impressively is the music and the stereo sound that this game is able to deliver. When the dragon comes on the screen and flies back and forth from left and right, if you have the stereo mod in place, you'll hear the dragon actually changing, coming out of different speakers as it moves around the screen. Likewise, as the balls are flying around trying to break into your castle, as they move from side to side, you will hear them change direction as well. Things get really complicated really fast in this game because there could be 3 or 4 balls going on at the same time. The level of difficulty is quite high, and the stereo sound in this case really does add a lot to the game. If you haven't played it, I would highly recommend checking it out. So as I mentioned, you don't necessarily need to do this mod if you just want to hear what some of these games sound like in stereo. You can use the Stella emulator like I was using, and you can click that button and hear what it would sound like if you did have 2 speakers. If you want to put 2 speakers in, the mod is fairly simple. I'll leave a link below to all the parts that you'll need to make it happen, and you've had my video now to reference, so I hope that helps a little bit. But that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. I want to say a quick thank you to all of my patrons. If you want to become a patron and help support the channel, you can do that at the link below. And also, I'll put a link to a playlist up above where I have a lot of different Atari videos for you guys to look at if that's your thing. So click on one of those videos and I'll see you in that one.
End of line.